Yo.
Gosh.
Oh, man, I haven't had this many cameras on me since I was filming my
Your what?
my music video in high school, my rap and music video.
How'd it go?
Dude, I sit back with his pack, his bag in the bag.
Okay. Perfect.
Yo, my name is Bala B. You heard what I said when the ladies hear my name, they jump.
Just sing the
They
deep
jump
end.
into bed.
It's the
I've heard
deep
that
end. Keep
one.
in mind, it's not the way hate like just feels right. That's from track. Come out,
There it is.
head-to-head combat.
There it is,
Far beyond
deep
that
end.
bomb to the teeth. This is a bomb threat. Yo, I don't change shapes and I don't shoplift tapes, but I used to. And if you choose to, here's some of the puppets that you're walking when it comes to.
You
Wow.
can't cut any of that. You can't cut any of that.
We ready, baby. We ready.
Everybody, welcome. We're clearly excited to go and film
Hey,
this
I
video.
was told that we were
gosh.
recording a rap music video today,
Yeah.
and apparently it looks like we're welcoming all the rookie reps to the summer, baby.
We're welcoming
Wow.
everybody. Everybody should be seeing this stuff. Everybody should be watching this stuff. But primarily rookies, this is for you. We want to go and welcome you guys to summer. Hopefully give you some info that'll get you through this first 30-day stretch and get you trained up.
Love it. Okay. Let's talk about our rookie experiences, our rookie stories. I'm coming up on year 13 now, which is so crazy. Every time I say that,
It's crazy.
Have you ever thought about the fact
over
that
a decade.
I was in 6th grade?
I don't think about that because it makes me feel old. I was always the
started.
young. I was always like the young guy.
Yeah.
And I actually don't even know because is it
You're one of the younger partners still though.
2011 was my first year, so I think
You're the
that's-
youngest partner.
I believe so.
Yeah.
Wow.
33 years old, man. So my 2011, I'm a rookie. I had a little bit of a different starting time. I was on an LDS mission, and so I didn't go out until mid-July. And I went out there literally knowing nothing. And so I think there's going to be some of you guys watching this that may be in the same boat as me, that you're getting, kind of onboarded and part of the Vivint family super late. And there's a lot of you guys that have had a lot of preseason and maybe some experience doing some other sales. But I was thrown up into Alaska for my first year.
Oh, geez.
Got out there like any other rep and was super excited. I remember being really, really excited for that summer because it was something that I had never done. It was obviously a cool place, going to Alaska. And my first week, I actually went out and did super well. My brother was up there, and he had done 1 year before I had done it. And I remember he told me, hey, you're going to fumble a lot of stuff. You're going to make a lot of mistakes, but this is what you need to know. Back then, we didn't have Street Genie or iPads or any of that. We had paper contracts, and we were selling security for, $50 a month. And he's like,
Door
hey,
sensors and a pendant.
door sensors,
There was
medical
thermostats.
pendant.
Thermostat. Do you have a thermostat?
It was the first year they were coming out. They were unreal. So, it's pretty crazy. But I remember him saying, "Hey, all you need to make sure this customer knows is that they're paying $50 a month, for the best service out there, and you need to make sure that you get their signature right here." And that's kind of the extent that I knew. I didn't know what made us better. I didn't know, all of the
didn't know how it
technicalities.
worked.
I didn't know anything. I
Nothing.
just knew I was excited because
Yeah.
I was with a lot of, amazing people. And so anyways, I went out there and I sold personality. That's really what I did, and I was able to go and connect with people. My first sale that I ever got, she had ADT. I went to her. I'm like, hey, we're one of ADT's competitors. We're the best out there. That's why all these people are switching. And she's like, what makes you better? I'm like, that's a great question. Let me step in and tell you. And I gave myself at least a few more minutes to come up with why we were better, which we absolutely were. And I learned all the technicalities of why we were better kind of through time. But, it was so cool. I remember just connecting with her and being excited and telling her about my story and how it was a new thing for
Yep.
me. And that's really, I made a friend before I made a sale. And then I kind of fast forward through that week a little bit later. I remember walking up to this guy, this military dude, and he was carrying in a TV. And I walked up to him and I said, hey, man, how you doing? And I was like, you need help? Let me help you. He's like, no, I got him. I'm like, no, bro, let me help you. And I went and grabbed the other side of the TV. I'm like, dang, this thing's so sick. Is this a 3D TV? I don't know if you guys remember when they had like 3D TVs.
They
But
had them.
I was like, is this a 3D TV? He's like, no. I was like, dang, that's sick, bro. So anyways, we walked in.
Doesn't matter if he says yes or no. It's
No.
That's
sick.
sick.
And
That's perfect.
walked in, and he's
Yeah.
like, so, and we carry his TV standing in the living room. He's like, so what do what can I help you with? I was like, oh, I'm the Vivint guy. I'm like, we're the ones setting up everyone with the security systems. And I just started pitching him, and I remember making a sale for him, and then he referred me to someone else. And so long story short, I have this great week. And that next Monday, I go out, work super, super hard, don't make a sale. Tuesday, go out, work hard, don't make a sale. Third day, I'm like beside myself. I'm like, this is crazy. Like I just went and sold. I think I sold 6, maybe 5 of them got installed my first week. So, pretty great first week.
Yeah.
Now I've gone 2 days without selling anything. Third day, don't sell. Fourth day, don't sell. Fifth day, don't sell. Saturday, don't sell. I'm an emotional wreck at this point. I've just
You're questioning your whole life.
Oh my gosh, I'm 6 days in. I'm
You're
so
losing
confused.
sleep, everything.
That's where I made a big mistake, and I obviously started pointing the finger at everyone else.
Yeah.
Like this couldn't be me. I couldn't be the reason that we were, that I was not seeing success. I'm calling my other buddies that went out with other companies, and they were like, "Oh yeah, dude, we got here and they had a welcome basket, and we're in Hawaii, and the boys, we were surfing this morning, selling in the afternoon." And I'm like, what am I doing, dude?
Yeah.
Like, not only did I not get a welcome basket, but I'm like, they didn't even know that I got to the airport, and I'm like blowing up people at 2 a.m. trying to find a ride to my apartment. Super funny. But anyways, so then I started pointing the finger at everyone else, and I literally went a whole nother week without selling anything. So now I'm 2 weeks into it, and I'm just so mad. I'm mad at everyone. I'm saying it's the training, the company. I don't believe in the product, all of these things. But I was too prideful to be like, oh, I'm going to go home, And so on this last kind of weekend of that second week of bageling, I had this really, really defining moment. I went and I sat down on this curb, and you guys have all heard the story. There's some round tables, whatever, but just a quick recap. I'm on Galactica Drive in Alaska, and I'm having a horrible day. I go and sit down, and I call up my regional at the time, and I say, "Hey man, I'm just wanted to let you know I'm going home." And he's like, "You're quitting." I was like, "No, I'm not quitting, right?" I'm like, "I'm not quitting." In my mind, and it's so weird how it's scary how you can get to that point where I was completely justifying how I wasn't quitting. I'm like, I'm not quitting, the company quit on me, all of these things of why why I wasn't selling and whatever else. He's like, you've never done anything hard in your life. And I'm like, what the heck? I mean, it was definitely tough love.
Yeah,
it wasn't
of
like,
course.
no, bro, you got this. It was tough love. And I'm just yelling. I'm like, what do you mean I've never done anything hard? I've done boom, 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 boom. And he's like, well, anyways, like, yeah, it sounds like you're quitting, so
Travel safe.
Good luck.
Yeah.
And I hung up, and I'm like, what the heck? I was so pissed off, and I kind of sat there, and I was like, dude, I'm quitting, right? And I had actually, and I'd actually quit, I'd quit well before that. I quit when I started pointing the blame on everyone else. I quit when I started coming up with the excuses. I quit when I stopped.
Yeah.
You guys have heard me time after time talking about knocking with intent, right? Like being very deliberate with the end goal, not just going through the motions, but actually like being that attack dog going in and getting, making sure that you're focused on getting the sell or be sold. So anyways, I kind of sat there and I had this really defining moment. And I actually, went from this, I'm going home. I remember calling Jake Lords. A lot of you guys know Jake Lords. Jake Lords had been out for a month before me, and he had sold one. I don't even know if it was real. He told me he sold one. And I call him up. I'm like,
there's no way to actually track the
I'm like,
deals.
hey, man, I'm going home. And he's like, why? And I was like, what? I'm like, what do you mean? Why? Why are you still here? He's like, because it's fun. And I'm like, what? This is nuts. So, I kind of sat there and I had this pretty defining moment that I'm like, you know what? I don't care about, and I was comparing myself to everyone else. I was doing everything you shouldn't be doing. And so I sat there and I'm like, I'm better than this. Like, I don't quit. That's what I do know about myself is I do not quit. And I've always taken pride of that. You guys all know I'm one of the most competitive people out there. I'm competitive with myself. I'm competitive with everyone else. I just gotten in this horrible mind state of like justifying that I wasn't even quitting. I was just going home, which in essence is obviously the same thing. But so I kind of take that next Sunday to reevaluate what I'm going to go and do and how I'm going to go and do it and really burning those ships. And I remember so clearly being like, I don't care about the money anymore. I don't care about the comparison, the this, the that. Like I'm going to figure this out.
Yeah.
And it was so clear to me, like, I am going to figure this out. other people are doing this. I've already done it. I've already sold 5 or 6 of these things.
Yeah.
And so I need to get back to that, right? And I don't care if I don't even make I don't care if I don't make a deal or any money for the rest of the summer. I'm not going to quit. I'm going to figure it out. And so I am like so rejuvenated and, you know, super fired up now. I remember I calling, you know, my manager. I'm like, dude, I'm going to tear this thing up. Like, I'm going to figure it out. So I go out week 3, Monday. What do you guys think happens?
Bagel.
Tuesday, bagel. Wednesday, bagel. Thursday, bagel. Friday, bagel. I'm now going on 3 weeks. But I actually wasn't broken at that point. I was like committed. And so I knew that it didn't really, you know, come hell or high water, I was going to figure it out because I had made that, you know, that commitment to myself, and I was going to keep that commitment with myself. And so I remember on that Friday, and I really learned something that time, because just because you have this this defining moment and you feel like you're recommitted and you're re-energized and you're super, super pumped and you're telling yourself this story, it's not on your timetable, right? Like we don't know, we don't know when it's or we don't know if it's kind of when, right? Like it's going to happen, but when is that going to happen? I don't know.
Yeah.
And I learned a really valuable lesson that it doesn't even matter how much more you recommit or what you are going to expect. I learned to keep going even through, you know, with just nasty, nasty perseverance.
Yeah.
And so that Friday, I remember sitting there and we had this thing you guys will be a part of it for the rookies and everyone that's sold before, of Charity Day. We love Charity Day as a company. We love Charity Day as, you know, our region, the impacts that we can go and have. And, you know, you go and you donate accounts to charity.
Yep.
And then get the opportunity after the summer to go and, you know, participate in an impact trip and to be able to give back. And we had been talking about this thing all week, this charity trip, you know, and this charity day. It was one day back then. It was, you know, that you just go super hard and be able to go donate the accounts. So again, I have like no money. I'm coming off of 3 weeks of bageling, but all I wanted more than anything was to be able to go and get an account to be able to donate it to charity. So I remember having this prayer. I'm like, you know, God, if there's a God, please let me sell. I need to sell.
Straight off a mission, just wavering
like,
in his faith in God.
I'm questioning everything, but I'm like, please let me sell an account. And I go out on that Saturday, just super fired up, humble, but just, you know, fired up. And I go out and I end up getting a sale. And I end up going out and getting a sale after that about 2 hours later. And so I broke my 3-week bagel streak with the 2-banger, was able to donate both of them to charity. It was a really, really great feeling. And the sale that I got was so amazing because of how it completely reset the deck. And I forgot about all of these 3 weeks. Like it was this really, really crazy experience. And I'll never forget starting out that day on that Saturday, one of the very first homes that I went to. And I think this was really impactful because I was questioning so many things, right? Like about the product and about this, because you talk to so many people and they're like, oh, well, I had it and it didn't work this time, or it did this or it did that, you know, and I let a lot of these other people's stuff really impact mine. But I remember on that Saturday morning knocking, and this girl, this older lady comes out and she stares at me, and I'm wearing this bright orange pumpkin Vivint shirt, and she stares at me and she just starts bawling. And I'm like, whoa, what's going on? She's like, thank you so much. And I'm like, what? Like, I'm just the Vivint guy. She's like,
no, you're not thanking me.
Yeah, she's like, no, thank you so much. She's like, you have no idea what your product did for me and my family. And she goes in to tell me about how she, you know, she was burglarized. Someone broke into her home. They stole a bunch of, some heirlooms that, you know, a ring and some things that were passed on from generation to generation. And because of our product, they were able to go and catch the individual that had burglarized her, and she was able to get her possessions returned. And, you know, she was so thankful that in that moment, like, you know, to me, it didn't matter how many I sold. I said, if I could go and do this for one person out here this summer, it's worth it. You know, like it was it was that impactful to me. And so I learned a lot of things, obviously, in that moment, and not to focus on that too much, but, you know, how much we take for granted and what the product can actually do and all of these things. But it probably it gave me belief maybe, or it rejuvenated me for whatever it was for multiple reasons. And, I also put in the time. I really want to focus on that. Like when I had that recommitment after those 2 weeks, if I'm going to go figure this out, it wasn't just like a mindset. I actually went and applied it. I went and I broke down, the things that I was going to go and do. I went and watched the trainings. I went and doubled down. I started interviewing. I started calling people. I did the things that I was too prideful to do before because I had already sold 5 or 6 and I was one of the top, not only rookies that week, but actually middle of the pack in the whole entire office, that I didn't have to go and do all of those other things, right? Like I could rely on just my personality and I didn't need the mechanics. I didn't need all of those other things.
You settled a little bit.
Totally settled. Yeah. I expected it. And this job is not easy.
Yeah.
And so again, that kind of helps paint a little bit of a picture of what my first rookie year was about. But after that Saturday of selling 2, I didn't bagel for the rest of the summer. And so I ended up going and selling about, I want to say it was 30, I forget now, 34 to 40 accounts, somewhere in that range of whatever funded. And almost all of them came in that last 3 weeks. Like I said, I had a short summer and it completely changed the trajectory of my life.
Yeah.
The things that I learned in that time frame, the things that I learned after, and the whole picture has absolutely changed the trajectory of my life. So I want to hear your guys' stories, and then we're going to kind of, go through expectations and things that we can help with all of the rookies and launching this summer to help you go and maximize and capitalize on this summer.
Yeah, absolutely.
To touch on yours really quick, and then I'll kind of explain mine, but it's crazy to me. You probably don't even really remember how much money you made, right? Kind of, maybe a little bit, but you'll never forget you like triumphing over like that hardship.
No, man.
Which is the currency of a rookie year. Like I was talking to this mom the other day. She's like, "Hey, my son wants to come out and sell. Like, how much money could he make or whatever else?" And I was thinking to myself, I'm like, that's not even actually the currency for your son. He's 18. 100%. The currency is for him to go and completely get the crap beat out of him, go through those hardships, but then for him to triumph over that and have those reckless moments of what was the street name again?
Galactica.
Just calling, a leader wanting to quit. That is the currency.
Forever.
Yes.
In anything they do.
That's way more important than money.
It's a multi-million-dollar skill set is what.
Well, it's a mindset too.
It's all of the above.
Yep.
No, thank you. Let's hear your story. I mean, you're going on year 4.
Yeah.
You were completely on the opposite side of the spectrum between Zach and I. I mean, you went out there and you did how many as a rookie?
I think even prior to your rookie year, it's good to go into where you were at prior.
Yeah.
Because you carried a lot of things over. Like, I remember watching you your rookie year, and I was like, what the fuck? And I was running. That was my best personal year.
Yeah.
Partially because I didn't want you to beat me.
We're competitive.
And on your rookie year. And, like, that was the best, like, year I've ran an office. But I was watching your office, and I was like, holy shit. I was like, because I remember when you came over, and, like, there's, like, this, like, yeah, they'll do good, but they're not gonna touch us.
Yeah.
And I mean, now you guys are.
Well, you'd done
humbly.
1 year of pest control before, right?
Yep. So
sold how many pests?
216. Funded probably like 190, 180.
Okay. So
yeah.
I mean,
good,
but not insane.
No, not at all. It was and I actually have a pretty similar, story starting in pest control. You should be able to probably sell more pest accounts than like a smart home account. That being said, make less money. But yeah, I remember I was sitting in Cottonwood Heights, Holiday, actually where you're from, literally like right where your parents live. I actually sold Brad's parents, which is so funny.
So wild.
So crazy. I was trying to recruit Brad to Moxie. I'm like, hey, he'd make way more money. She's like, I don't know. He makes pretty good money. But yeah, that's a whole nother story. But I remember I was knocking on these doors and I remember this one guy was like, dude, I just like, I can't afford it. And I'm like, what the crap? Like, why would my leadership throw me in an area where people can't afford this product? And it was just this one guy. It was a red house, and it looked like a small house, but it was like really big. I remember it vividly because in that moment, I like completely like I was diminished. I was like, dude, there's no way I can get a deal. And so, I actually started really slow. I didn't even sell that day. I went to my leadership and I was like, dude, why did you throw me in like an area where people can't afford it? And he's like, I don't know if I would do that. And so he pulled up Zillow and he starts like looking at all the houses and it was like 1.2, 1.6, 1.4, 2 million. And I'm like
4K. That's about where.
And I'm like thinking to myself, he's like, I promise you people can afford it. And so the moral of the story is I was actually a rookie where very similar. I didn't want to have accountability. I'm like, no, dude, I'm not succeeding because people don't have the finances and you're throwing me in the area that people don't. And, just like Brad, I was like, I got to make some money. I was newlywed. I had no money. And I remember I watched a video of this guy and I was struggling really hard, really, really bad. And I was like, dude, I'm going to copy and paste this guy. I'm going to say it exactly like him. And so I watched it. I didn't sit on the curb. I stood on the curb for probably like 2-3 hours one day. I was supposed to be knocking. Don't recommend it. Do it before the doors. But I watched it and I said it. And then I watched it and I said it. And I could almost get it perfect. Like, it was almost freaky how I would do his gestures and laugh and like smile and lean back. Next thing you know, I knocked a door. They didn't answer. I knocked the next door and I sold it. And then that day I finished with 3. And then from that day forward, I never bageled. And so, touching on that and then jumping over, like, that was like, I didn't do great. I was kind of made my money in the butt end of the summer, just like a lot of people will their rookie year. August is where I like made my money. And then, the whole nother story, found some holes in Moxie and obviously pest control, and then jumped over to Vivint. And I had no choice but to succeed. Like, literally, there was no choice. I mean, you remembered it was 52 rookies day one under like a church pavilion in Wichita Falls, Texas.
Mm-hmm. This was the COVID summer too.
Just COVID.
This was the COVID
I mean,
summer. No offices.
We had no time to go on preseason trips. We didn't even have time to train. Honestly,
we were doing some. You watched me sell a couple over the phone.
Oh my! I'm in Salt Lake with Caleb Battier and Jake, and Brad's like calling these customers from Arkansas. And the guy's just like, well, how much? And Brad just like says the price. And the guy's like, we could do that. And Brad's like, just that easy, man. I'm like, no freaking way. He's doing phone sales.
That was a wild
phone sales because of COVID. And so, I didn't really know how to sell. But I remember the reason why there was performance, in my opinion, my rookie year.
Tell us, bro.
I had no choice.
Don't hold it back.
Yeah, I mean, it was good. It was a good year. I had no choice. Brad couldn't have been there the whole summer. Brad bounced. It was kind of like, hey, who's the next one in line to like come and train us? And I'll never forget it. It was like my turn to do the training, and everyone's like, like, how are you selling? Like, I was getting like 2s, and I was, I think I did 12 my first week or something like that, which was awesome.
Yeah.
And I remember like, they're like, how do you do it? And I'm like, the doorbell cameras are so freaking sick. And they're like kind of like, well, what? And I'm like, you just go up there and you tell them how cool this doorbell camera is. And then from that day forward, I learned something so valuable. It's purely the energy. And I didn't know the pitch or anything. I mean, Kenny Cox a little bit, where he's like, the Mr. Dorian pitch where he paints a story of someone breaking it. I couldn't even do that. For me, it was like, dude, this doorbell camera, I'll just show you the numbers. You either hire me or fire me. Just super simple. And then, obviously worked. So, touching on my story to wrap it up, I had no choice but succeed. I also had, obviously a really big role model, Brad, coming off of a couple of summers at 300 or so. And I wanted to, I don't know, like you get in those, you've gotten in that state where you're like, dude, I want to see what I'm about. Like, I want to see what I can do.
Yeah.
Like, can I be one of the dudes? You know what I mean? And, you play that game and all of a sudden you're like, I'm not going to slow down. You work the hours, you stay positive, and then all of a sudden it's like, holy crap, it's working.
Yeah.
I think one thing, and I've been lucky enough to have a front row seat to both of your rookie experiences and your rookie years. And so I think watching you, one of the best things that you guys can all you rookies listening, I hope a lot of you guys have responsibility, and I hope you guys have recruits, because that's something that you were absolutely forced into a leadership position.
Yeah.
And you were doing it for, something bigger than just yourself, right?
Totally.
You had to be leading from the front, even as a rookie.
Had to.
You had responsibility. You had these people. And so it was just, like you said, you had no choice. Like, if you weren't selling, if you weren't putting up numbers, no one else was going to, and no one else was going to come in and be like, oh, no, like, I got you, right?
Yeah.
And so that was really, really powerful that you learn, what you're capable of doing in that moment. And obviously you had such a different experience from both me and Zach. You ended up funding over 200, right?
You're over 220.
Yeah,
over 220 with.
Yeah, FP was.
I remember.
It was.
And honestly, you had an amazing.
Zach will never forget it.
I remember.
But you had an amazing rookie class as well. So
that's the biggest win.
You saw this. You saw
office.
firsthand the whole high
High tide,
raise all ships. Like, you were a rookie,
Yeah.
and you performed in the whole entire op. You guys did over 2,000 accounts.
Yeah.
As a rookie team, every person in that office was a rookie.
Yep. Every single one.
Yeah, which is
Yeah.
amazing. So kudos to you. That was lights
pissed.
out. And now we have the top producing rookie of all time. Fortunate enough to have Zach Anderson here.
Perfect segue. I kind of think I should have gone first, and you should have kind of kicked us off. We're just gonna go revert, and I'll tell you exactly what not to do. But yeah, to rewind a little bit. So I started straight out of high school. I started 2017, right as I graduated. I actually left from the senior all-nighter. There was a senior all-nighter thing at the end of the year after you graduate with all seniors. Me and my best friend hopped in the bed of my dad's truck. He had a little cover on it. We slept while he drove us out there because he was picking up a car. That's what he did for work. So he drove us pretty far out there, and then we jumped out, took Coy's car off the trailer, drove into Memphis, Tennessee, of all places. And I grew up in Orem, Utah. I looked like I do now, but with a complete baby face. I had the highest voice you've ever. I looked the way I do right now with a baby
without
face,
the mustache,
with a baby face and a very high pitched voice. I look like a 16-year-old girl. But no, I remember I got out to Memphis. But even rewinding there, how I ended up at Vivint with Brad is I met with Brad. I absolutely loved him. And I went on this preseason trip, and this preseason trip was to, I believe it was Nampa, Idaho. No, this was to Greeley. It was Greeley.
Yeah, Fort Collins, Greeley. Yeah.
It was Greeley, Colorado. We went out for Thursday, Friday, Saturday. I went out and I watched Brad sell 4. And I'm like, dude, this is freaking easy. It's like 28 degrees. He dropped me off the next day. And I was out there with Caleb Latier, Jake Lords, Nate Lords, Brad, and me. And then one of my buddies that I recruited. And
stacked.
And literally it was a stacked team, and they were all throwing down. I remember wandering around this neighborhood like, what am I doing? I had really bad anxiety. Well, like, it gave me really bad anxiety to go knock. It was like I was the opposite of even Brad his rookie year. I didn't have that confidence at all. And we got me a deal that trip, completely closed by Brad. She was awesome.
Count it.
She was straight. We're gonna count it.
Yes.
There's
I feel
more
like you
to
sold
it.
one at one point with like a yellow Corvette or something.
That was her. That was my first deal. She was. So then fast forward, I go into summer with one preseason. I'm like, oh, I'm freaking set. I got out there.
It had already unfunded.
Yeah, it had already unfunded. It was
Road to 100.
Beginning of June when I got out there. So the team had already been out there. These rookies were already slaying. Even some people that I recruited were already out there. They had 5+ accounts, 10+ accounts under themselves. And I'm like, okay, I got this. And I remember getting out there, and it was like, I almost felt like I had no idea what I was doing for a month.
Totally.
And I stumbled across a few deals. My longest bagel streak was exactly Brad's. It was 3 weeks of bageling, but I never had that 5 week or that 6 week to get me started. And I didn't even recover with a no bagel streak at the end of summer. So I started really poor. I got really, really bad. I got a little bit better. But one thing I did do is when I started lacking confidence in myself, I called other people. Like, when I started letting the doubts creep in, I called Casey Ball. I would call Brad. I would call Alex Dunn. I would call my other friends that were in places that I wanted to be. And that's one thing I do think I did well. And I kind of attached to Caleb Latier, and he didn't like it. And I think it was against his choice, but he kind of got stuck with me. But I remember I was away from summer for a trip that I was on. It was midway through summer, there was about a month left of summer, and every one of my friends in my room went home. Every single one. All my recruits went home. They all bailed. It was July. And they took my stuff because they thought I was just going to fly back into Utah and be home. And I planned on it because I started college 3 weeks later. I'm like, dude, I've only sold, I think I had sold 14 to 16, somewhere in that range at this point. And I'm like, yeah, I'm not going to go do any more in 3 weeks anyways. I tried to convince Brad, Casey, and Alex. That was my lineup. I'm like, if I can get their approval to go back to school right now, I'll be good. Right. And I didn't really have a chip on my shoulder. I didn't have anything to go perform or anything. I had the lineup of Brad, Casey, and Alex to go and get their approval to go home and not go finish the summer. And all three of them gave me the exact same answer. They told me that if I quit in this, I was going to quit in other things. And I had a million reasons to justify why it wasn't quitting. I had syllabus week. I needed to get my books. I had to make sure my car was good for school. I had to get my housing set up. My move-in date was sooner. And it was just like every excuse you could come up with. And they all gave me the same answer. So I did actually end up going back out to summer. And I didn't go have an amazing finish, but I did. I went from 16 to 26 accounts. So I did almost 50% of my volume, or did 30-something% of my volume in 3 weeks.
Yeah.
But way more valuable than that little like lesson took me into every other year that I've gone into and done. But I ended up finishing as the worst rookie to finish. I was the lowest producing rep in my team and in Brad's region. And I remember it was like embarrassing because I knew the Vivint guys really well. I grew up in that environment, and like people, I'd be over at like Casey's house and working for him, and someone's like, "Oh, how'd you do?" And I'm like, "Oh yeah, I did 26." And they're like, "Is that good?" And you'd hear Case from the other room. He's like, "No." He's like, "No, that's not good." And I'm like, "Well, shoot." But I remember everything that I do. I credit myself for one thing is like, I was so grateful for the opportunity the entire time. I made 12 grand, and I was like, I bought AirPods. I thought I was rich. Like, that sticks out to me so much because I remember walking around UVU when I got home with my AirPods. Like, I bought these.
Yeah.
That's sick. I drove a freaking $1,200 car. And like, I thought I was rich. 12 grand was way more than I would have made at my other jobs. And I was very grateful the entire time. And to be honest with you, no shade towards anyone out there, what I was plugging into as a rookie probably got overlooked because you know how it is. Like, as a manager, there's so much going on. I was the lowest producing guy out there. I was totally on an island. Everyone in that office was doing 200 accounts.
Yeah.
Everybody. And they were all slaying it. And then it was me. All my buddies went home. I had so many opportunities to quit that could have been pretty justifiable, in my opinion, still. More justifiable than a lot of my reps that quit now. And that's where I do credit myself. I stayed really positive, even though I would have my days and my times, and I was super grateful the entire time. And I did a lot of things better the forthcoming years, but I mean, I'm telling you, like, the situations got so bad. Like, I was broke. I had $16 in my bank account mid-July when I got back out there. I got back out there, and Caleb was left, and Nate Hunter was left in the whole apartment. And they took my blanket and my bedding, so I slept with my towel that they left in the bathroom. I would make sure I used my towel. I used my towel at night, and I would only shower in the morning, so my towel was dry by night to use as a blanket. And me and Nate Hunter pushed beds together. I have pictures of all this. Pushed beds together to be in like a mega bed to make it more fun, and it was a blast, dude. Like, literally looking back, I'm like, that way I could have made that out to be the worst thing ever. Yeah. And like, it was so freaking fun, and I stuck it out till the very last day. And that was like the most gratifying thing I've ever done. And probably the worst rookie performance in the history of Premer.
Well, and it's so, again, kind of seeing both sides of it and what you were able to go and do the next year, coming back with a vengeance, and when you got deliberate and when you, really went through the goals and the vision and all of those things and didn't discount yourself. You went out and following year, I think you did more preseason than you did the whole entire summer in Utah, did what no one was willing to go and do. And then you did 175?
Funded 175.
175. So crazy how that ended up. But so now that we've kind of all talked about our experiences, and, we're going to end up taking most of the time in this kind of little kickoff podcast talking about the experiences, because it's actually, it's so relatable, right? Yeah. Like, I love what I went through because I can relate with about anyone. I can relate with the people that obviously struggled. You the same, and then you're the person that gives people hope that they can go out and be the outlier that can go and have an amazing first year and exceed all expectations. And so I think talking about stuff as we're going into it, and as you guys as rookies, what you can expect. One of the most important things is just obviously being able to manage your own emotions and expectations. And it's always probably the hardest thing because the fact that you're out in market right now and the fact that you're willing to go and make this kind of sacrifice, like, you're in the 1% of people that are willing to go and do that.
Yeah.
And this job is really hard. It's really fun, and there's a lot of obviously amazing things that come from it, but it's really hard, and we never shy away from that. And so going through it right now, it's probably the most important part. And it's the most complicated part because you don't want to go and beat yourself up, but you want to hold yourself accountable.
Yeah.
And so for you guys, what advice are you going to go give to a rookie to be able to, know that they're going to go through the ups and downs, and we already know it's not if, it's when, and it's, cliche, we say that stuff.
Yeah.
But what are these guys really going to experience, and what advice would you give them?
Well, I think the advice is in the stories, right? the first and foremost thing is like you just cannot quit. Like you just can't. Like you look at you now, and if like the rookies only knew how much success you've had and you've had. I mean, like just before this call, we're looking at a jet, you know what I mean? Just crazy stuff. Seriously. And you just never really know what this job could, you know, potentially be for you. So I would say like the first thing and the principle from all of us is to not quit. Like you just cannot quit. And you know that's like,
and on that,
that's kindergarten. That's what, you know, our parents taught us growing up.
Just a one line and then keep going. You also cannot beat someone who doesn't quit.
No, you can't beat them.
That was my motto, because there were experiences where I was extremely embarrassed by people who were way better than me within this job. It's a very competitive environment. And like in the back of my mind, I'm like, I don't know if it's going to be this year or next year or the next year. I'm going to bury you. Like, and they didn't know it. I didn't have to say it, but you can't beat someone that doesn't quit, period. So I completely agree.
Well, it's super. I mean, obviously, there's other people and peers that, you know, you both compete against and started at that their first years smashed what you went and did, right? Yep. And now you fast forward 6 years and, you know, you're a regional doing 5,000 plus accounts. And those guys are, you know, maybe have a couple reps and are kind of fizzling out.
Yeah.
And so, you know, and not specifically even in this company, but in the industry, you had people that you were competing against that had, you know, outstanding first years and whatever else. But you made sure, obviously, to not let that dictate your future and kind of that be your story of going and being a rookie that struggled. It was a rookie that went through, like you said, about as bad as it can get, but you turned it into, you know, one of the top caliber tier people in the industry.
What made you, how did you do that? Was it just knowing that there is no ceiling, that there's too much of a vision to let go? Like what made you like, hey, I'm going to stay positive no matter?
There was a lot. You mean my first year, my rookie year?
Yeah.
The thing is, I wouldn't even say I stayed positive, but I had it in my mind that like I had seen so many people go through exactly what I had gone through and come out on the other side exactly where I wanted to be. And I was nowhere near that. And that was like light at the end of the tunnel. But what I didn't do is I didn't go and take extreme ownership in the fact of like, I get to decide how long it takes to get there.
Yeah.
Maybe I am way more anxious than other people. Maybe I don't have the skill set of speaking, like communicating how these other rookies. I remember Mitch Diedrich. That was the guy I looked at as a rookie where I'm like, holy crap. And I love Mitch. Like, we still DM and everything. He was a beast as a rookie in my mind. I think he did 60, right? But to me, I was like, holy crap.
Yeah.
And maybe he was naturally better than me. But if I would have realized a year sooner rather than my second year that I decide how fast I get good at it. Maybe I need an extra 2 days, 2 hours a day of training to compete at Kelton's level. If that's the case, then I'm going to go get 3 so I'm better than Kelton.
Yeah.
Right? Rather than just hoping and praying I'm naturally as gifted as everyone and I'm going to get it as quick. No. Like, that's what
like
I should.
Recognizing that, hey, maybe I might not be the most talented, but no one will outwork me. And if I need to do 3 times the work or whatever it might be,
and I was like, oh, my managers will train me. My managers will teach me. It's like, no. It's like, yes, of course they will try, but Brad did not have to sit down with Caleb to get him to sell. Yeah. Right? So I need to take it upon myself. I want to sell like Caleb.
Yeah.
Right? Which was a big goal of mine for a long time. But yeah.
Let's hit on that. So like, you know, we've got about 15 minutes left in this thing. I want to talk about a couple best practices and things that we can actually apply, things that, you know, you've done as you've, you know, ran teams with rookies, what works. Because, you know, the application is obviously the most important part. But when we talk about that, you know, I can't tell you how many people out of the, you know, I think we were just talking about it, 78,000 career downline accounts or whatever, tons and tons of experience doing this thing. You get a lot of people that talk a big game and they're like, I don't quit. I'm so competitive. Mindset, like I'm not going to do 2, I'm going to do 3.
No one works out harder than me.
You clearly did do those things. You know, I've obviously clearly had points in my career where I led from the front and I absolutely did what I said I was going to go and do or what, you know, so as a rookie, what were things that you were specifically doing? Like when you're saying, no, I'm going to train harder, I'm going to do things better. Is it the pitch? Is it the role plays? Is it the, you know, the paperwork?
I would say the most important thing, because most people listening know that answer already. They just had, right as you said, that they had 10 actions that they could go and do.
Yep.
So to like piggyback off that and then to give some actions, first thing is don't say it, show it.
Yep.
Don't tell me thank you for being a great regional, show me.
Yep.
By applying and working and doing what we say to go and do. Don't say you're going to go be the best rookie and you're going to go do 300, do it.
Yep.
Right? Don't go and put 5 on the board. If you're on a 2-week bagel streak, put 1 and do 2.
Yep.
Like, don't say it, do it. Don't say it, show it. That's what I would say. And then actions, I would say, is like, the way I look at it is we have a learning curve in this job as leaders, as rookies, as everything, as a sophomore, as a third year, as a fourth year. You have a learning curve to get to the next level, whether that next level is 100, 200, or 300. That learning curve is like a bottle, right? It's a bottle some certain size. Mine might be bigger than yours because you're already better than me. That takes a certain amount of liquid to fill to the top. Once it's filled to the top, you put it on the shelf. You're the next level. You go to the next bottle, right? And every single thing you do that is putting drops in that bottle, every action, every amount of time you spend, whether that is knocking with intent, reading books, listening to podcasts, watching trainings, interviewing, every little drop you put in will level that bottle up. That will reach that learning curve, that time that you have to go and dedicate, which will be different than others, quicker. So actions is anything. Go and read The Greatest Salesman in the World. Go and read Psychology of Selling. Go and interview Brad and Kelton and Justin Wall and John Ross and Crew and Jaden Kenny and like all of these people. Go and interview these people, right? Because any hour you're putting in is filling that bottle and you're reaching that learning curve quicker. If you just depend on what we give you, your learning curve could take a year. Because I did exactly what everyone gave me. I was watching the required trainings. I was knocking the hours, but it took me a year, and I would have way rather done that in a month.
I think a lot of rookies are, they're super stressed out about being perfect, like having the perfect pitch, and they focus so much on the things we can't control, and we've talked about that a lot. Yeah. But I would say, like, the most simplistic answer for a successful rookie year is being perfect at the hours. And I feel like looking back, that was probably the only thing I was perfect at. Like, I didn't have a perfect pitch. Even like my energy at times, like, yeah, we lack, you know what I mean? But I genuinely was perfect at the hours. I knocked my last door when it was dark and I went to my callbacks.
Yep.
I was so you got to feel like almost like this anxiety to get to area. Like you are so hungry for success to hit your goals and have like a big start to the day. And so, I would say like being perfect at the hours and holding that accountable. Like, I'll never forget it. I won't give names, but we had a correlation in Idaho. And I admired this comment, but one of the kind of quote unquote managers, we got held up at a gas station, whatever. And I was like, hey, all reps on the doors by 1. And we started dropping off the rookies about 110, 115, kind of an extreme case. But the rookie's like, hey man, like, let's just not let this happen again. I'm 15 minutes late because of you to the manager. And it was so crazy, but the manager loved it. He's like, oh my gosh, like that is incredible.
Yeah.
And, I learned something from that rookie. Like, that's not easy to do, right? Like, and you don't want to, I would say there's kind of a balance, but I loved it. Like, in my personal opinion, that rookie knew what was important to him, and that is to get on the doors. And that is something that we can be perfect at. And we've obviously touched on the car groups and whatnot, but be perfect at the hours. And then, go ahead.
On that, you do not see a 200 account rookie messing around with his iPad as you get to area, not knowing where he wants to start, telling you kind of, I got to take a dump at the gas station real quick before we start, even though we just left the hotel or the apartments. Like, I would say that's literally like, you can tell by the way a rookie approaches work time.
Yeah.
How well they're going to go do.
Well, I think what you're saying there, I love that, because if you were to go and ask me the generic answers of like what makes a successful rookie, it's, working the hour, and they are all those things. But I love hearing that, like if I were to go break down kind of the 5 or 3, 4, 5 things that I would say you need to go and do, that's well better or much better said than just working all the hours. It's be perfect with the hours. Like, you don't have to be perfect with everything else. So, making sure that you're perfect with the hours. I think utilizing company resources, that was one thing that, was watching you come up. You were so blown away with coming from Moxie to Vivint, a world-class technology company. You were blown away with the resources we have. Make sure that we're using those.
Yeah.
We've got 30 Days to Pro that all of you are going to be introduced to, that the whole format of that is to, and the idea behind it is to no longer have you be a rookie 30 days from now, right?
Yeah.
It's giving you all of the training and the mindset training and everything that kind of goes into becoming a pro at Vivint. And it's very, very doable.
Yeah.
And we have years and decades of experience, and we've become the number one, sales force in the world because of our world-class leadership factory and developing rookies, taking them from a rookie to a pro. And so using and utilizing and maximizing company resources, your managers, you guys have all heard me a million times.
Yeah,
I would get picked apart in summers when people were leaving, and it was always the people leaving, ironically. And they're, oh, well, I just didn't get trained. I didn't get help. I didn't, this, that, whatever. And I would always tell people I put 90% of my time into the top 10% of people, because that's where you're going to get the biggest result, right? The people that are constantly blowing you up to get better, and they're asking the questions, and they're going over the pitch, and they're coming to the bagel meetings, even though they didn't bagel just because they want extra, those are, it's so
gunning for incentives.
Yep. It's so easy to watch those people, so again, it's using all of those things, your management, your resource, and then compete. Go and be a competitor.
Yeah.
Challenge the status quo, like you just said.
Have fight.
You don't have to go and be a jerk about oh, whatever, but
totally.
You go and watch, if you watch sports or you watch any rookie dominating, they're constantly challenging the status quo.
And don't compete with the people on the board that are doing what you've been doing. Go up a rank. If you're in this group that's been doing, and Austin Barnhart is better than anyone I've ever seen at this. Austin Barnhart, as like arrogant as it comes across, it's how he thinks. He would be blowing me up. He's like, I want you. And I'm like, dog, we're not even in the same category right now. And then he very quickly got into the same category. Yeah. And he's now a totally worthy competitor because he didn't go and be like, oh, give me the best rookie. He's like, no, I want the best.
Yeah, he's like, I'm the next Bobbick. I'm the next this. Constantly, I heard him saying that. Blairham, same thing. I watched Blairham, who's the top rep, well over 400 last year. Crushing it. I think 1 or 2 in the company right now. But he's
at 130 already.
Hasn't always been that person, right? But he was constantly challenging the status quo, and he was competing with the best, not just his peers.
Yeah.
But doing, right? It's so crazy, touching on what you said. It's so many rookies. I'm going to be the top rookie. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. And it's just do it.
Yeah, show me.
Just show us. Just
and then talk some shit.
Yeah.
I'm all with it.
And then go get in someone's face and size them up and call them out and get excited and, get fueled. But be a realist and actually go and do it and have a plan for it.
Yeah.
And
do what you say you're going to do.
Yes. Every rookie comes up to me and says, I'm going to be the top rookie. And I'm like,
I would rather have a rookie come up to me and say, I'm not going to miss an hour of work this summer.
Exactly.
And that rookie's going to go outsell the top rookie.
Tell me what to do so I can be my best, and I'll do it. And then if he does that, watch him go be the best.
Exactly.
Attitude. You guys have always heard, I have one of the best books I've ever read because I watched myself go and apply it right away, and I saw the results from that, was The Greatest Salesman in the World. I've talked a lot about the scrolls. There's these different scrolls, and one of them is I will bite my tongue when tempted to criticize. And I remember so visually thinking about how important it is to be positive, and how when I'm tempted to criticize, of biting the tongue, stopping it. It's not an option to criticize. I'm just going to be a positive person. I've had the opportunity to be around some, they are the most contagious, fun people that you aspire to be like, are always the most positive people. It's never the person that's a pessimist, that wants to tear others down, that wants to throw shade, that wants to take no responsibility. It's the people that you don't know if they just sold 5 or if they bageled. Because and it's okay to obviously go through the sad times and experience that and the emotions and learn from them. But I cannot say how or stress the importance of just being positive and being that person.
Yeah.
You will be the office, you will be the guy in that office if you're just a positive person, and the results will be no surprise. I promise.
Having a short-term memory, a lot of times people, because they bageled today, they go into the correlation the next day with dead eyes. You're like, okay, that guy's going through it, right? And you're like, I got to talk to him after the meeting. But just having that short-term memory, I remember in baseball, it was like, you know, like we'd get so frustrated and it was like, hey, you only get 10 seconds. And if you want to, you start counting, but you only get 10. And then after that, it's the next pitch, it's the next play, it's the next inning.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing in this. It's like, hey, if you had a bad door, yeah, give yourself 5-10 seconds and then you're back at it.
And that is actually something I struggled with. And what I mean by that is, like, I always heard people talk about how important positivity was, be positive. And I'm sitting there like, well, how the F are you positive if I'm literally 3 weeks bageling, I've made no money, I have $16, and I would list all these negative things. And really, truly, to explain how to do that, like what that means is be extremely aware of the story that is playing in your head when you're not talking. And then control that story to be like, okay, he smoked me this year. I'm going to beat him at some point.
Yeah.
I might not be the best right now. They don't know I'm reading for 2 hours every night. Wait until they see what this does, right? Yep. He's going to go out with his 10 preseason. I'm going to do more in this preseason than I did last summer. That was what was going through my head. I didn't have time to think about how bad my rookie year was. I didn't have time to think about how cold it was in Utah. I didn't have time to think about how there was no preseason trips to go on. That wasn't the story going on in my head. So if you want to control your positivity and your attitude, like Brad's saying, that is number one most important thing. Second only possibly to work ethic in this job, attitude. Be aware and control the story in your head.
Yeah.
I'm going to end with that right there on the story piece, because my favorite thing to talk about is the story. The last thing when I left my LDS mission that my mission president told me was, you know, he had been really successful. He'd written books with Stephen Covey. He'd done all sorts of business. And I said, hey, what would be your last advice? And he said that life is a story. Make sure it's a good one. And so I think that, you know, we constantly tell ourselves different stories, or, you know, when we're selling and whatever it may be, customers are telling a story. For you, if you don't like your story, you can change it. Be flexible in this job as a rookie. Be humble as a rookie, and constantly be evolving and bettering your story, and make sure it's a really good one.
There's never a good story when someone quits. You've never seen the knight in shining armor quit and give up. So absolutely, go write your story.
But believe that you can change, even if you're not seeing huge changes. Just those tiny, like, you got to chip away. You got to be scrappy, right? Yep. The best athletes are scrappy. They chip away. And if you can do that and have those tiny changes, but make them frequent, then you'll win.
I love it.
Hey, everyone, subscribe to this channel. We're going to be bringing a lot of stuff.
We got the heat. Hey, on this, if I don't know if you're about to roll into this. If you're watching this video, the way we're going to track who's participating when people are reaching out and knowing, go and comment on this video. And if you watch it again in June and then in July and 3 times in August, I don't care. Go comment every time you watch it. It's going to be a really easy indicator of who's going and doing this. I don't care what you comment, but go and comment.
I care about what you comment. Tell us what's working. Tell us what's not working. You know, let's leave an impact and help each other, build each other up. And we're also going to have a lot more content coming. This wasn't as sales oriented and training oriented. It was, it was us to be able to kind of relate and walk through what we've experienced in the job. Our rookie years. We couldn't be more excited for you guys. This is the best time to do it. So,
thank you.